to the channel, folks, and to another review of a completed commission. Now this is quite a big commission. As you can see, I've had to use the full expanded Panzer parade ground to get it all in one shot. So, if you can't tell already, this is a late war German force, themed for Normandy, 12th SS. It's got two formations plus support. There are infantry, there is a panzer formation, there are anti-tank guns, artillery, and also some Tigers for some heavy tank support. Now these figures here are all classic kits that you can't buy anymore. I really enjoy working on them because they're becoming rarer and rarer, but what you see here can be achieved just as easily with the new kits. In many ways it's easier working with the new kits, it's easier to make sculpting changes to them and so on. For instance, at certain points here you're going to see there is damage on Zimmerit. That can be done just as easy on new kits as trying to source these old kits. So you don't have to lose character when choosing the new kits. So let's go through the various units here and we'll look at some still photographs too. Let's start by looking at the infantry. Now these are the old metal sculpts, the late war SS sculpts. There are obviously new SS sculpts that are available, and you can get the same look as you see here on those new soft plastic sculpts. Now this force is made up of a HQ with some old snipers. You won't see them in version 4, but this has been painted up partly as a version 3 project as well. It's got two platoons of Panzer Grenadiers. One of them has got 251 transports. Then they're supported by flame-thrown 251s, and then a platoon of 6 mortars and 4 heavy machine guns. So let's have a look at these in some detail with some stills. Let's start with the company HQ, which has got a nice unique figure as part of the set. You can see it in the far left there, and that is a war reporter with a cine camera. Unique little figure, good to have in the collection. Now if you want to see the painting guide for how I create this bright Oakleaf camo, there's a link in the description below. Now for the mortar and heavy machine gun platoons, these blisters were old version 3 types, so they had command teams. So I've placed a couple of figures onto the bases so that you can tell who the command bases are. That's a good touch, something you can do yourself if you've not already painted and based all of your version 3 minis. And one thing to note about this HMG platoon is 2 of the bases, the figures are all carrying the heavy machine gun like they're on the move. Bit of a tricky gluing task there, folks, but it can be done, as you can see here. Now the half tracks are one of the coolest elements of a Panzer Grenadier force. These are the old resin and plastic kits, that's plastic tracks and wheels. Now these half tracks also have the dedicated SS crew that you used to be able to buy as a little blister pack. Has even, for instance, got one crew member sitting with a Panzer Shrek. All looks very cool and adds a lot of character to the finished project. But note, I've also painted the generic crew that come with the standard half track kits in the Oakleaf camo. You can't really tell too much the way they're sculpted anyway about whether or not they've got smocks on or such legs, so it works very well. And I've done the same for the SS crew. It's worthwhile taking that extra step just to round off a project of this nature. Now the tank formation is made up of 2 platoons of Panzer IVs with a HQ of 2 Panzer IVs, and then for a bit more heavy hitting we have a platoon of 5 Panthers. These have all been painted using Tamiya paint. They are my first choice for German sort of classic late war 3-tone camo. Harder edge camos I might use something different, but Tamiya works great for this, and there is a link in the description below to see how I paint this particular camo scheme. But let's have a look more closely at these with some still images. Let's start with the Panthers, and these are old resin and metal kits, and they're really heavy, especially after working on the plastic variants. They've got individual sculpting across all 5 tanks, so you can see there is little bits of stowage that's different. There are damaged areas on the Zimmerit, and of course you can make damage on the little side skirts too. So really characterful set of tanks. But as I said, you can add your own character to the plastic kits very easily. Now the Panzer IVs, they are also individually sculpted. There's lots of stowage on there, and I should note that I've added more stowage to them, and I've added more stowage to the Panthers too for a bit more of a unique and characterful look. The old style Schurzern are an absolute nightmare to attach, so there's lots of strengthening behind them, and I've only as a result removed a few panels from the ends of them. Otherwise you're going to find them just breaking off all over the place, but still great old kits. Now there's quite a few things in support here. We'll start with the most interesting one in this, the 8-8 box set Flak 36. This is a cracking box set. I'm going to spend a bit of time covering this off with some still photographs to let you have a look at it in detail. Of all the old box sets that you could buy for version 3 Flames of War, this Flak 36 type is the one I've painted most. I couldn't tell you how many I've painted. A very popular choice for so many different reasons, from gameplay to painting to collectability. There is so many different elements here, and they're basically like little dioramas. Now you'll notice that they've been painted, many of them, not all of them, in Oakleaf camo. So there's been a judicious use of a hobby knife and the use of some green stuff to add smocks to some of the figures. A bit of sculpting all over, so to speak, with green stuff, or maybe just adding cuffs and a hem to the normal tunics. And I've gone for a 2-tone camo on the guns, a 3-tone on the vehicles. I just find the guns look better with a 2-tone camo. They just a bit brighter, stand out strongly against those busy bases. But I'm sure you'll agree that this is a fantastic classic box set. Now there's a small scout platoon here, always useful to have in your force. And then we've got some gun teams. We have got a platoon of 3 Pak 40s, very good ambush unit, and then for artillery, 3 Nebelwerfers. Let's take a closer look at these gun units. Let's start with the Pak 40s, and you'll notice that I've painted them in 3-tone camo, even though they're quite small pieces, but 3-tone I think is kind of in character for this ambush type weapon. As with the mortars and heavy machine guns, I've used some of the spare version 3 command teams to make one of the bases the clear command base. And it's always worthwhile adding those little ammo cases to a base because it just helps set the scene and add a bit of character to the finished look. Now for the Nebelwerfers, I just made them plain Dunkelgelb. I don't like to do them as 3-tone. I have done in the past, and they kind of lose that clear tubular shape when you do too busy a camo. And also the bright plain Dunkelgelb allows the sooty ends of the barrels to stand out really strongly. Once again, to make a clear command base, I've used the redundant command figures from the blister, and just as with the 8-8 box set, I've used some green stuff and a hobby knife to create tunics, or the appearance of tunics, so that I can paint these guys as SS, at least some of them. Not all of the uniforms are suitable, and a mixture also looks good. And then finally we have, sitting in the corner there looking moody, 5 Tiger tanks from Whitman's battalion that was there at Normandy. Once again, these are the old sculpts, so there's a hell of a lot going on. So let's take a look at these in some detail. Now the Tigers are just like the Panthers. They're a box set which has individually sculpted hulls, turrets, got the big chunky metal tracks. So these are heavy once again, and you can see all the damage Zimmerit. You can see little bits of stowage, disturbed cables and such like, so a hell of a lot of character on these kits. I've not added any additional stowage to them because you typically don't see much external stowage on a Tiger tank. It's got that big bin at the back, and that seems to be where everything is kept. You can maybe add some unditching logs to it, but otherwise they're great as they are. So there you go folks, a wonderful collection of classical minis, but as I've stressed many times before, the plastic kits that are out there these days are great too. If you've got a pile of minis like this, been sitting around for 10, 15 years, and you're never going to get them painted, why not drop us a line at the email address on screen just now, tell us what you're after, and we'll see what we can do in the way of a quote for you. And if you've got any projects at all you'd like to discuss, doesn't have to be Flames of War, you can get in touch as well. I hope you found it interesting, folks. The next big project I'm likely to share is going to be Japanese. I'll be finishing a Japanese project in August, so I'll let you have a look at that when it comes out. Then after that, stay tuned for a Panther formation. That could also be quite interesting too. So plenty coming up in the way of Flames of War, and there's also going to be a series of videos for bolt action that I'm editing as we speak. Thanks for watching, folks. Hopefully we'll see you all on the next one.